Crooked stems and droopy broccoli seedlings. No problem. Plant them extra deep, but will they survive? That's what this video is all about. Let the experiment begin. All right, I'm gonna let you in on a little bit of a secret here. I've never been able to grow great looking broccoli seedlings. I don't know what it is. No matter what I do in the nursery, supplementary light, no light, closer to the light, further away from the light, indoors, outdoors, they always come up crooked. I just can't seem to get them right. And as a result, when I plant them, they go into the ground crooked and they grow up to be crooked and they never grow well at all. Is this just me? Do you have this problem? And if you don't have the problem, what are you doing to avoid this problem? How are you getting these nice straight broccoli seedlings? It seems to be the impossible task that I can't conquer. So instead of trying to conquer it, I'm trying to adapt and work with it. So the question I'm trying to answer today is, how deep can I plant those crooked broccoli plants so hopefully I get a nice straight plant in the field? When you ask the question, how deep should you plant something, there's not a lot of great answers out there in the gardening world. Outside of tomatoes and things like strawberries, there's just not a lot of great rules of thumb in terms of how deep to plant stuff. A lot of the stock answers sound something like this. Simply plant the plant so the soil level of the seedling matches the soil level of the field. Now that's all well and good if you have a nice straight seedling or a viney plant that's going to creep all over the ground. But if you have a plant that's supposed to be straight and it's not, if you just plant it at soil level, then it's crooked when it goes in and it's going to grow up to be crooked and it's going to fall over. Can we do something like tomatoes with not tomatoes? Can we plant them deeper so we bury the crooked part of the stem so what grows above surface in the field actually comes up straight? I don't know. Let's try. Here's the experiment. I have a bunch of broccoli seedlings and I'm going to plant them into the raised bed 3 different ways and then we're going to compare the results. The first way that they're going to go in, soil level in the cell tray is going to match soil level in the field. Just like that stock answer, we're going to do what it says. Variation number 2, we'll plant it deep enough so the cotyledons are just sticking out of the surface. Variation number 3, we're going to bury the cotyledons and plant them extra deep. The benefit of planting them extra deep is we can bury the crooked part of the stem so what grows above surface will be straight. But the big question is will they survive? One of my initial thoughts on soil depth planting is it's just a safety measure. It's a great universal starting point. Well, I don't know how deep you can actually plant, so just keep the plant where it was growing when you bought it or when you were growing it and put it into the field that way and it should keep growing fine. And I kind of think that that's where some of the experimentation stopped. But at the end of the day, it makes sense because that approach is universal, it's easy, and if you just do it, you know it's gonna work. But like all things, it might not be best. But sometimes easy is better than best. I digress. Observations from this experiment. All plants survive. So soil depth didn't affect plant survivability. They all survived. Now let's just look at the 2 extremes. Planted at the same depth that it was in the cell tray, planted extra deep beyond the cotyledons. Cell tray depth, we have faster growth. We have it already producing a head. We have a crooked stem. That didn't affect growth, at least from what I can see. Planted extra deep, we have slower growth. We don't have a fruiting head yet, but the plant is nice and straight. Now, one question would be does the bent stem affect performance? Is there something with like nutrient water flow that in a perfect world, this same plant with a straight stem would do a lot better? I don't know. This plant was also growing at the edge of the bed, so we have to think about edge effect, meaning how close is the plant to the edge of the bed? Because the edge of the bed has very unique conditions. There's more light there and there's less water there. There's also more heat there since it's at that soil bed interface. So the edge of the bed could account for some of the growth patterns that we're seeing. In order to rule out the edge effect, we're going to have to scramble up, mix up the seedlings, interplant all these different plants different ways, and see which one grows the best. That takes away the edge effect, and we focus on just the depth of planting. If we ignore edge effect, planting depth apparently doesn't matter. You get survivability. And as long as the plants survive, then we can do more testing, we can do optimization. Because there's a lot of factors we need to think about in how we're trying to get a plant to grow. Do we want it to grow fast? Do we want it to produce fruit fast? Or do we want it to be healthier? And can we have all of those in the same bag? Maybe this one is more resilient to heat. Maybe this one is more resilient to drought because there's more roots in it, because we've now given the roots more area to form. I know, people want specific results. So specific results here are 100% survivability no matter how deep you plant a broccoli plant, within reason. Who knows, maybe next time we'll go deeper. Results that are up for question are, does planting it extra deep actually slow down growth, but do you get better growth at a slower rate? That's going to require some more testing. Like all things in gardening, don't take this as gospel. Use it as a starting point. Start here, planting plants at different depths on a small scale, and see what works best in your location. My results might not match up with your results. Maybe climate, soil, or microorganisms within that soil have an effect on how deep you can actually do this style of planting. In my case, planting extra deep, it worked great. It was slower, but the plants grew straight and they grew really nice. This experiment also got me thinking, what other plants could we try this for? Green beans, cabbage, others like that. Can we get better growth by planting plants extra deep? And by better growth, here's what I mean. Maybe the plant grows faster, maybe the plant grows healthier, maybe it's more resistant to disease, maybe it produces fruit faster, maybe it's more resilient to heat stress. This is something that I think there's some legs here, and we need to kind of put down roots, pun intended, into this theory of how deep we actually plant garden vegetables. Should there be a standard depth? Is soil depth always the right move? So, it's experiment time, and I shouldn't just be the only one doing these types of experiments. Do some of these experiments at home. Start planting different plants extra deep and see if you notice different effects on depth of planting and other factors like growth rate. Does one plant do better if you plant it at a different depth in your climate and your conditions? Let me know if you've done something like this in the past below, but experiment. Science, tinkering, this is fun stuff. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.